Today we are heading to Manuel Antonio. Now, Manuel Antonio is the home of a national park, a small town, and also some stunning beaches. So it can get a bit confusing. There is Manuel Antonio National Park, there is Manuel Antonio the town, and then there is also Quepos down the road. Together, they make up an absolutely stunning destination that is going to be one of the highlights of your Costa Rica itinerary. I know that I had an amazing time seeing the natural wildlife, hanging out on the beaches, watching some of the most beautiful sunsets that I've ever seen. I'm Juliana from the Discoveries of. We are going to be adventuring around Manuel Antonio. Let's go. So let's talk about Manuel Antonio National Park, and let's face it, that's really going to be one of the main reasons that you're in this region. Manuel Antonio National Park is actually Costa Rica's smallest national park at 16 square kilometers, but it's also one of its most popular, and for good reason. The biodiversity here is incredible. It is home to 109 species of mammals, 184 species of birds. Now, I have to be honest, I had just finished traveling in Corcovado National Park. I'll link to my video up top. But I thought that Corcovado blew my mind, and it really, really did. So I wasn't sure what to expect from Manuel Antonio. Well, let me tell you, I was not disappointed. The wildlife sightings here are so cool. Going into the national park with a guide so that they can talk about and explain all of the fantastic nature that there is to see. Now, I have to be honest, I was only in my hotel last night and there are already white-faced monkeys, iguanas, so I think the national park is going to be pretty epic as well. All right, so I am in Manuel Antonio National Park and it is stunning. And this is a really unique park because you have the forest, the jungle, which is amazing. We've seen sloths, we've seen monkeys, we've seen lizards, birds, butterflies. It's just resplendent with wildlife. And then you have some of the most stunning beaches in Costa Rica just right here on the doorstep. It's pretty spectacular. So all in all, I'm so glad I added this to my Costa Rican itinerary. The wildlife in Manuel Antonio is off the charts. I mean, even though it's such a small area, it is just absolutely stunning. There is no question about the fact that you are going to see wildlife when you're in the park. It is very much a given. The question is, which wildlife and what can you expect to see? There are a few highlights that you should definitely be keeping an eye out for. One is sloths. So there are two-toed and three-toed sloths in the park. Two-toed are actually the larger of the two. They're more active in the early morning and the late afternoon when it's a bit cooler, whereas the three-toed are more active at night. So you probably have a higher chance of seeing the two-toed sloths when you are in the park. We saw them up in the canopy, and it was just really cool. Like, we saw one actually moving and jumping from one tree to another. There are also monkeys. So you're going to see 4 main species live in the park or reside in the park. And those are the Central American squirrel monkey, the white-faced monkey, which is also the capuchin monkey, there's a spider monkey, and then howler monkeys. So there are monkeys within the park. You are guaranteed that you will see capuchin monkeys. They are literally everywhere in the park, to the point where they're, sometimes all over the main boardwalk, and it's just really cool. Beware though. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to talk about the monkeys. You're not able to bring food into the park. And one of the reasons for that is because of the monkeys. They are real terrors and they will find it and take it out of your bag. Also beware that they do go onto the beaches and have been known to grab people's phones and grab people's bags off of the beaches. So just make sure that you're keeping an eye on your belongings and really keeping your belongings with you wherever possible. You're also not allowed to feed or pet the monkeys. They are wild animals. I feel like this should go without saying, but don't feed, don't pet the monkeys. There are 3 main beaches inside of the park, and that is Playa Manuel Antonio, Playa Gemelas, and Playa Espadilla. These are the three main beaches. Now, the one that you're going to hear loads of people talking about is Playa Manuel Antonio, or Manuel Antonio Beach. And for good reason. I mean, it is straight up stunning. The main path dips down and your first sighting is going to be, you know, white sands, azure sea, framed by lush vegetation. It's one of the most popular beaches in the park. Make sure that you bring your swimwear when you're going into the park because you're going to want to swim there. There is also Playa Gemelas, which is a set of coves, turquoise coves, a bit rockier, a bit quieter. And there's Espadilla. Now, my personal favourite was Espadilla. It does not get rated highly enough. It's just a spectacular beach. And it's just a lot quieter, to be honest, than the Manuel Antonio beach. So one of the questions that I had before visiting Manuel Antonio National Park was whether I should go with a guide or do it kind of self-guided. You can do both, and I'm going to talk through both options. In the end, I decided that I really wanted to go with a guide. After Corcovado, where we'd been hiking with a guide for the course of 3 days, I just, you know, I really love the depth of knowledge that hiking with a guide can bring you. It really helps you to engage with your surroundings. You know, no one knows the park better than these guys. They are in there day in, day out. They have eagle eyes, you know, they just see stuff that you could never hope to see, even if you've got your own pair of binoculars. They bring really powerful telescopes, so you can have a look through the scope and you can take a photo with your phone through the scope. Of course, once you've finished your guided tour, you can then head to the beach and just go and hang out on the beach for the rest of the day. And you can also spend some time exploring the park again, you know, on your own. So just because you book onto a guided tour doesn't mean that you go on the guided tour and then you have to leave the park. You're more than welcome to stay in the park when you're finished, and then you can do your own thing. There are also some things that you should know if you're going self-guided. As I have said before, Manuel Antonio is actually one of the most popular national parks in Costa Rica, and they limit visitor numbers very strictly. So what that translates to is making sure that you are booking your tickets in advance. There are timed entries, so you can stay in the park as long as you want once you're in there, but there are timed entries. And particularly if you are traveling during the dry season, which is when it's most popular, you really want to be booking your tickets probably a week in advance, because it really does sell out. Website is not that user friendly or intuitive. You have to register on the website, and then once you've registered, then you can buy the tickets. It's a bit clunky. Do it on your desktop if you can before you go, because I think it's pretty much unusable on mobile. I'm just being honest with you here. Then there are the things that you should know before you go into the park. So there are lots of things that you are not allowed to bring into the park. No food at all. There are cafes inside of the park, so don't worry, there are places that you can buy food. There are cafes just outside of the park. I mentioned before that the monkeys are like on it. When we were walking around, just when we were down by the beach, this monkey went into this girl's bag. She had clearly smuggled in some food. He took the food out and just took it and ate it. Our guide was pretty upset about it. Other things. So no single-use plastic in the park. You are allowed to bring water in, but make sure that you're bringing it in a reusable water bottle. And no drones. There are lockers though that you can pay, and also no cigarettes and no lighters. I should also mention that the park is closed on Tuesdays, so do factor that in when you are planning your itinerary. There is really only one main path, so you're not going to get lost in the park itself. And obviously, I think your biggest struggle is going to be just making sure that you're seeing as much wildlife as possible, because that's really why you're here. And I don't think that's going to be difficult either, because essentially, if you see a big group and they're all peering at something in the canopy or in a particular direction, you should peer at it too. I would say though, if you are going self-guided and you really are keen to see the wildlife, I would bring some binoculars with you if you can. Good morning. Well, I've woken up in Manuel Antonio today, and I'm really excited. We're just going to have a bit of a low-key day today. The beach here is supposed to be amazing, and we're going to spend some time on the beach, go and have some nice food, hang out by the hotel pool. Some people seem to think that Manuel Antonio starts with the national park and pretty much finishes there. It's actually a really chill, cute town to spend at least a few days in, exploring, hanging out on the beach. The main beach is Playa Espadilla, and that is incredible. It's a really nice stretch of beach. It's got tons of facilities, so you can go like water skiing, paragliding, or you can just chill out on the beach, which is, you know, a very valid option too. We ended up renting a pair of sun loungers and a shade because it was fiercely hot, and I think it cost $25, so it's relatively expensive. I mean, this is not a cheap place to travel in. Sunsets from Espadilla Beach are incredible. The day that we went down for the bulk of the day, we'd actually kind of been thinking late afternoon to just head back to the hotel, have a shower before we went to go out for dinner, etc. But, you know, I just like, feels like the afternoon's winding up, evening's coming, like, let's see what the sunset looks like. Oh, it was so beautiful. I cannot state in highly enough like just how stunning this sunset was. It's just perfectly located. The sun lights up the water in like a just blaze of orange and red hues, and it's just one of the most gorgeous things that I've seen. There's also another beach which is a lot less popular and a lot quieter, called Playa Espadilla, just down the road. Now let's talk about one of the real highlights of my time in Manuel Antonio, and that is Rainmaker. Now, Rainmaker is a private nature reserve spread out over 1,500 acres. So outside of Quepos, there's a place called Rainmaker, and actually this doesn't crop up on so many guides. It's kind of a nice alternative to, say, Manuel Antonio. You do a lovely self-guided hike, and the entrance is $20 plus taxes, so I think it was like $22 each. And apparently it's a really lovely self-guided couple-mile hike with lots of nature and some cool waterfalls. I'm currently trying to also look at where I'm walking. So I'm really excited about this because we got here, it's 4 o'clock, it's the last entry, and it's just totally quiet. We've seen a couple of people, but really and truly very few people. Absolute contrast to Manuel Antonio this morning. I only took about, I think it's a 40-minute drive from Manuel Antonio, 30 minutes from Quepos. So yeah, let's go and see and explore. This place is really cool. I actually love it. The whole time we've been in here, seen 2 other people, which was right by the main waterfall, which was stunning. And we walked over a series of hanging bridges through the rainforest, through the canopy. I mean, it's actually been really beautiful. I wasn't quite sure what to expect because there is some info. You can do tours here, but there wasn't tons of info about what it's like to just kind of come on and do the self-guided hike. And I would say it's absolutely worth it if you've got your own transport, or I'm sure you can get a taxi, and I think it's really great. Do come along because it's pretty cool. The nature reserve is home to over 300 species of bird, and there's lots of wildlife. Really keen to see. There's a series of hanging bridges. So this brings you up into the canopy. You get a much closer look at some of the wildlife, and also it's just a really cool experience. And there are also some really nice waterfalls that you can go and take a dip in the pool underneath the waterfall. It is just a lush place, and so definitely set it aside, you know, I'd say at least half a day to go and explore. So what are some top tips for your Manuel Antonio trip? Well, first of all, where should you stay? I would recommend staying in Manuel Antonio town if you can. On the stretch by the beach is great. We actually stayed in La Vela Boutique Hotel, so it was just set back from the beach. I thought it was a beautiful hotel, really good value actually. I think it was about £100 a night. We had quite a spacious room with a private, like a little terrace area that was great for chilling out. It had a nice pool, did a good breakfast, and the staff were just really friendly. Plus, location wise, I just don't think it could have been any better. So it was literally a 5-minute walk to the beach. And then that was literally a couple of minutes from the entrance to the national park. Also, big question, where are you gonna eat when you are in town? I've got 2 recommendations for you. So the first one is Cafe Agrozul. It's in Manuel Antonio town, but on the stretch that isn't on the beach. The food there was just banging, great tacos, just great food, really fresh fish, super like banging margarita, and also on Todas, which was a really cool location, and it's in an old school bus. It's in a converted school bus. Again, the food is all about like fresh ceviche, great tacos, tostadas. I mean, the food there was also banging. So those are my 2 recommendations, and that is it. So Manuel Antonio, are you ready to go and explore? It's a fantastic destination. I'm Juliana from the Discoveries of. As I said, I've already put up my video about Corcovado National Park. I'll be putting up more videos from our Costa Rica trip, so don't forget to follow for more practical tips and immersive experiences.